South Park, it's come to life. That's what we're witnessing in this hospital room right now.
When was the last time you twerked, Alex?
I don't think I've ever twerked in my life.
You must have.
It's quite vicious in a way, but quite funny as well.
I have a bit of a laugh at Harry and Meghan's expense because I've finally caught up with this South Park episode.
Okay, then you must be in the national system. Oh yeah, is this you? Sorority girl, actress, influencer, victim.
Yeah, that's totally me. Trying to make ourselves into a brand just turned us into products. We don't need to be a brand, do we? What matters is what we have on the inside.
Time to do our daily $250,000 sponsored Instagram post.
I shouldn't have left the made-up nonsense.
South Park didn't just roast Meghan Markle, they broke down her entire Hollywood brand in a single 20-minute cartoon. And the internet hasn't stopped laughing since. The now infamous episode Respect Our Pregnancy took one cringe moment from Meghan, a hospital video Meghan herself posted, and turned it into a hit. Within hours, social media exploded. And behind the scenes, Meghan's PR team scrambled in full panic mode trying to bury what had already gone viral. South Park exposed the one thing her brand couldn't survive, the truth. It all started with a video Meghan Markle thought would be empowering, a moment of vulnerability and true authenticity. Instead, it became the internet's latest laugh. Meghan was glowing and perfectly styled inside what appeared to be a hospital room with the lighting and setup exactly perfect. And then, in full glam, 9 months pregnant, Meghan started twerking in a hospital gown.
But the gross disrespect to the intimacy and privacy of marriage and childbirth.
Right next to her stood Prince Harry, wide-eyed and stiff, awkwardly swaying. What was meant to feel intimate and relatable instantly went viral for all the wrong reasons. Within hours, the internet exploded. One viral comment read, 9 months pregnant, but the club still calls. The creators of South Park, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, took that bizarre clip and turned it into an animated joke. In their episode, Respect Our Pregnancy, Meghan's cartoon twin storms through a hospital set, camera crew behind her, cameras rolling, and she's twerking again. Only this time, her baby bump begins unraveling mid-shoot, while Harry stands behind her, visibly confused, and the whole scene feels like a documentary. Gone horribly wrong, but the scariest part is that it didn't feel far from reality. South Park didn't need to invent much, they just exaggerated the truth that Meghan had already given to them. Her hospital video was supposed to show a new kind of royal woman that's real, unfiltered, and modern. But instead, it showed just how fake and image-obsessed her brand had become. As soon as word got out that South Park was preparing to air an episode mocking Meghan and Harry, the reaction behind the scenes was complete panic. Insiders say Meghan's PR team scrambled into crisis before the episode even aired. Legal teams were contacted. High-level calls were made to try and stop the broadcast. There were threats, demands, and desperate attempts to control what was coming.
South Park has done a parody. It has really upset Meghan Markle.
But they were dealing with Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the two creators who have made a career out of saying the unsayable. And they don't back down, but the episode aired anyway. And within minutes, clips from Respect Our Pregnancy flooded social media. People weren't just laughing, they were shocked by how close the parody came to the truth. South Park didn't just mock Meghan's public image, they tore it to shreds. They tapped into the public's concern with the way she and Harry begged for privacy while actively using their personal lives for publicity.
Isn't it true, sir, that your questionable wife has her own TV show and hangs out with celebrities and does fashion magazines? What are you suggesting? Well, I just think some people might say that your Instagram-loving wife actually doesn't want her privacy. How dare you, sir? My Instagram-loving wife has always wanted her privacy!
The real-life video of Meghan twerking in a hospital gown had barely slowed its trending when the animated version hit the internet. Suddenly, the joke wasn't just about South Park. It was about how Meghan had walked right into it. What made it worse was the truth that Meghan was trying to silence simple comedy. In an industry where authenticity is everything, any move to suppress harsh criticism only fuels the fire. And that's exactly what happened. Once the South Park episode aired, something felt off. What had once been a careful image of royal modernism and feminism began to crack. And longtime supporters, Hollywood executives, and media insiders began re-evaluating everything they had. With the Sussex couple, one of the episode's most brutal moments was when cartoon Harry and Meghan marched around yelling, "We want privacy," while simultaneously filming documentaries, doing interviews, and staging public appearances. The contradiction was too obvious to ignore, and it was true to reality as well. And audiences were exhausted. According to sources close to the industry, Meghan's upcoming projects began to bring issues. Calls stopped being returned and meetings were postponed. A streaming executive reportedly said, "No one wants that kind of circus attached to their production." Meghan wasn't seen as a bold and creative woman anymore. She was seen as unpredictable, risky, and potentially toxic for brands, and the internet couldn't get enough. Hashtags like #RoyalCringe and #RespectOurPrivacy trended for days. People were tired of the image management, the contradictions, the endless PR stunts. And now that South Park had torn down the illusion, the image couldn't be rebuilt. This was now a reputational crisis for Meghan and Harry. They were exposed, and in Hollywood, perception is everything. Once it falls, it's almost impossible to get back. And the most brutal part of this entire spiral is the fact that Meghan did it to herself. The now infamous hospital video wasn't leaked or filmed without Meghan's consent. She uploaded it out of her own want. She believed it would have been seen as a true moment that redefined what modern motherhood could look like. But instead, it became the perfect setup for South Park to tear her fake image apart in a world where authenticity is everything. Meghan's attempt at realness came off as painfully rehearsed. The perfectly lit hospital set, the glam makeup, and the dramatic posing all screamed production, not vulnerability. And viewers were left confused. And when the animated version hit, complete with a twerking cartoon Meghan and a staged delivery, room meltdown, it was no longer simply a parody. It felt like real documentation. Even her most loyal fans started going silent. There was no defense that felt logical. Because when you say you want to keep your personal life private, but then film yourself twerking in a hospital gown for the internet, the contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. And Meghan's brand, built on the narrative of breaking royal tradition and speaking her truth, suddenly looked like just another overproduced PR lie, and South Park didn't stop at just mocking the image. They mocked her intention behind it. The cartoon Meghan tries to direct her own way by micromanaging her camera crew, posing for dramatic shots and snapping at staff relentlessly.
I feel like the focus is starting to shift off of me. Maybe in editing you'll fix it?
It was fake, but it hit far too close to Meghan's real life behavior on past sets, according to former colleagues and Netflix insiders. What was meant to come off as empowering was now being labeled as an example of peak self-importance in celebrities. The hospital video quickly became a cautionary tale-end. The world was only laughing, not applauding. Behind the scenes, the entertainment world was already watching Meghan with close questions. But after the South Park episode aired, and after the backlash from her hospital video, Hollywood's patience ran out. Her image now seemed chaotic and insufferable. And for an industry obsessed with image control, that's a red flag no one wants to touch. Studio insiders began leaking quiet but harsh facts about Meghan. One producer called her a walking PR disaster. Another bluntly stated, "It's not worth the risk. There's too much baggage." Projects that had once been sparked with enthusiasm were now being quietly shelved. Meetings were cancelled. Scripts that had Meghan's involvement suddenly hit the bottom of priority lists. The message was subtle but clear. Hollywood was pulling back. The Meghan brand, once a symbol of female empowerment and modern royalty, was falling. Her image had been carefully made with a mix of a kind glow and a glamorous rebellion. But now, after being shredded by South Park and roasted by every corner of social media, her image wasn't seen as inspiring anymore. It was seen as insincere and dangerous for anyone who partnered with it. And it wasn't just the public that was reacting. Sponsors and networks took notice too. According to industry whispers, major platforms that once competed for her content were now holding back. One exec admitted they loved the concept, but not the circus that came with it. The central fear was that any attempt to deal with Meghan's public image would backfire spectacularly. The very things Meghan built her brand on, like visibility, storytelling, and emotional vulnerability, had now turned into her greatest liability. Because when audiences start to believe your authenticity is nothing more than an act, everything else collapses. The charities, the podcasts, and the brand partnerships suddenly all feel like sales pitches, not statements of purpose. South Park exposed how fragile Meghan's whole empire really was. And now the same industry that once welcomed her is slowly closing its doors. In the final scene of the Respect Our Pregnancy episode, cartoon Meghan uploads her chaotic hospital documentary to YouTube. She's proud and convinced she's just created her viral masterpiece. But behind her, the set is in ruins. It's peak chaos, but Meghan's character is totally oblivious. She's basking in the glory of what she believes is her defining moment. And then reality hits. The video gets 12 views, half of which are South Park character Cartman refreshing the page on repeat. No viral fame, just silence. And in that moment, South Park turned her entire media strategy into a punchline. Because in real life, that's exactly what's been happening. Meghan's projects have all failed to connect with audiences in any sort of meaningful way. That cartoon wasn't any sort of exaggeration. It was simply showing the truth. Meghan's obsession with controlling her image and packaging every life moment as a PR opportunity has left her dangerously out of touch. And South Park captured that disconnect with chilling accuracy. The gap between how Meghan sees herself and how the world sees her is getting bigger by the day. And now even her supporters are struggling to stick by her side. The cartoon just felt so real, and that's what stung the most. Not because it was so outrageous, but because it was believable. As soon as the episode aired, the internet turned Meghan's downfall into a joke. Social media lit up with reenactments of the fake baby bump hitting the hospital floor. Creators made side-by-side comparisons of Meghan's real twerking video and her animated twin. The comments were savage, but all unified in their thoughts. People weren't just mocking Meghan, they were all processing the absurdity of it all. And that's when it became clear that Meghan Markle had crossed into a place where her name was all just a joke. And that's a whole different kind of fallout, because when the internet turns you into a joke, the damage lingers and it spreads. Every time someone says, "respect our pregnancy," it's another hit to her credibility. Every new clip gone viral chips away at the brand she spent years trying to build. Even her usual defenders like progressive influencers, royal watchers, and media allies have since gone quiet. There was no spin that could save her. Hashtags like hashtag royal cringe and hashtag TWRKgate kept trending. YouTube is flooded with breakdowns, commentary, and lip syncs of Harry's now iconic meltdown line, "Respect our pregnancy." What South Park did in 20 minutes, the British tabloids couldn't do in 5 years. They broke the fourth wall of Meghan's branding. They exposed everything Meghan and Harry have been doing behind the scenes. And that's what the audiences connected with. Not just the humor, but the shared feeling of finally being allowed to say, yeah, this is ridiculous. Because at some point, Meghan's image stopped being relatable. It stopped being royal and started feeling like reality. TV without the honesty to admit it. South Park didn't invent the ridicule, they just delivered the punch. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry spent years trying to reshape their narrative, build a brand, and control every camera angle. But in one savage cartoon episode, all of that came crashing down. Respect Our Pregnancy was a window that showed the truth behind Meghan and Harry's carefully created image. The fake authenticity, the viral stunts, and the twerking hospital moment weren't empowering. They were tiring and overused. Meghan wanted to be seen as an icon. Instead, she became a laughingstock. The question now isn't how she can rebuild her brand. It's whether anyone's still gonna be watching.